part 2. Here we go. Genevieve peeked over at Chloe. We don't need Theo's help, do we? That evening, 14 eggs arrived at her doorstep to receive proper care from Dr. Genevieve. She built a special carrier for them out of a milk crate and egg cartons, careful to label and note the condition of each egg upon arrival. All weekend long, she got the eggs plenty of exercise and fresh air by taking them to the park in a stroller. She talked to them for company and sang them songs to keep them entertained. She even read them bedtime stories before lights out. When Genevieve walked into homeroom on Monday, she felt like a hero. She carefully placed the crate of eggs on her desk and set Chloe down beside her. Her classmates gathered around and tried to retrieve their eggs, but Genevieve waved their hands away. It's the last inspection. Don't touch them. You don't want something to happen now, do you? Juliet withdrew her hand like she touched a hot stove. Good point. Genevieve, Miss Skeen said from the front of the room, why don't you walk everyone's eggs up so I can check them? No problem, Genevieve said proudly. She firmly gripped the handles of the crate and headed toward her teacher, knowing that because of her excellent care, these eggs would make it to the end of the project. As Genevieve walked up the aisle, she was wondering if she would get extra credit for doing such a great job, when suddenly she tripped on something, and the crate went flying. Oh no! The eggs flew through the air. Genevieve caught herself on Theo's desk. The eggs! Crack, crack, splat, splat, splat. Everyone gasped. Miss Skeen was a goopy, eggy mess. Goodness gracious! Genevieve could hardly look. Miss Skeen was covered in egg yolk and runny whites. Genevieve turned to see what had tripped her. There was... Miss Karagosian's grumpy. There was nothing in the aisle, but Josh was at his desk with his hands folded in front of him. He looked like a cat that had just swallowed a mouse. How do you think a cat that has swallowed a mouse looks? Miss Karagosian thinks they would look pretty guilty and pretty happy with themselves. He had tripped her. She knew it. Josh! Josh's face looked surprised. What? Apparently no one had seen Josh trip her. Genevieve, you tripped on purpose, didn't you? Ethan said. I knew I shouldn't have trusted Tiger to a girl. Juliet came to Genevieve's defense. That's crazy. She'd never do that on purpose. Yes, she would, Calvin joined in. Why do you think she took care of all our eggs for free? She had this planned all along. Class. Miss Skeen tried to get everyone's attention, but no one listened. I didn't plan this, Genevieve retorted. Oh, that's a good word. That's like replied or answered. Genevieve retorted. But everyone ignored her. You're right, Calvin. Josh got up and pointed at Chloe. Look whose egg is still perfect. Genevieve's egg. Class, Miss Skeen called again. But everyone ignored her. They were all too busy watching 5 boys rush Chloe. No! Genevieve couldn't stop them. In seconds, Chloe was in midair, dangling from Ethan's fingertips. Now you can see what it feels like. Ethan, don't you dare, Miss Skeen warned. But he did. Sayonara! Chloe dropped from his fingertips. Genevieve squeezed her eyes shut. Ping! Ping! She opened her eyes. Chloe was bouncing off the floor like a plastic ping pong ball would. Ping! The egg bounced again before coming to rest in front of Calvin's feet. The whole class gasped again. "That's not an egg," Josh said. Calvin grabbed it from the floor. "It's plastic. You're a cheater." Genevieve was stunned. Theo shook his head. "I told you not to trust them." "Class, that's enough." Miss Skeen was shouting now. She took a running finger at them. "No one say a word." Everyone got quiet. Miss Skeen straightened and attempted to smooth her goopy egg hair. "Genevieve, Josh, Ethan, Theo." Then she rattled off the names of other boys who had all tried to get Genevieve's egg. "Everyone to the principal's office." Dun, dun, dun. When they arrived, Principal Cooler whirled around in her chair to stare at everyone. "What's this I hear about an egg fight breaking out in the classroom?" Immediately, Josh explained his conspiracy theory about Genevieve, blaming her for the entire egg disaster and calling her a cheater. As Josh talked, Genevieve sat quietly, afraid to speak. She'd never been in trouble before. She could hardly think. What had happened to Chloe? Why did Josh have to trip her? How could people be so mean despite everything she'd done to help them? "Is that so?" Josh said. "Is that so, Josh?" the principal finally said after listening to the boy's tale. "Seems to me that I've seen you and some of you other boys about a dozen times with Genevieve." Okay, Miss Karagosi is going to try that one again. "Is that so, Josh?" the principal finally said after listening to the boy's tale. "Seems to me that I've seen you and some of you other boys about a dozen times, but Genevieve has never been to my principal's office. Am I right?" Genevieve nodded. The principal turned her attention to Theo. "And what is your part in all of this, Theo? You're usually on my honor roll, not in my office." I swapped Genevieve's egg for a plastic one. Genevieve's jaw dropped. Theo took Chloe? And where's my egg? "It's safe in my backpack in homeroom. I was going to return it to her before inspection, but I never got the chance." The principal scratched something down on a notepad. "Now, why would you do such a thing, Theo?" Genevieve turned to glare at Theo. "Yeah, why?" Theo shrugged, looking as awkward as he had in the science lab. "No reason, really." Genevieve sighed. Maybe Theo had gone off the deep end and was going crazy. The principal set down her pen, frowning. "Theo, seeing that this is your first offense and that there's no rule against swapping of dairy products, you return the egg to Genevieve immediately and you will receive a written warning. And Josh, it appears as though you are wrong about Genevieve. I suspect she also did not fall on purpose either." Josh swallowed. After the principal gave the other boys detention, they were dismissed. Theo tried to follow Genevieve down the hall. "Let me explain." But Genevieve didn't want explanations. She sped up. She wanted to get away from everyone, especially Theo. The egg project was supposed to be fun and meaningful, but at that moment, she could care less. That evening, Genevieve sat in her room trying to do homework, but she kept staring at Chloe's empty basket. She missed having an egg with her, even though no one else seemed to care. It was all a joke to them. Genevieve then wondered if something was wrong with her. Why did she care so much? Maybe it shouldn't matter to her either. Oh, Miss Karagosi wants to give her a hug. Tell her it does matter. It always matters, huh? Usually people that are messing around and say they don't care or something's dumb, it's because they're afraid. They're afraid to fail, and so they just make fun of things. And they make people who care and want to do their best feel bad about themselves. Kind of like Juice Box Bully, right? Yeah. All right. The doorbell rang. Genevieve pushed back from her desk. "I'll get it." When she opened the front door, Theo was standing there. His bike was resting against her front porch. He held up an egg in a new box filled with straw. "Please." Will you just take Chloe? Genevieve crossed her arms. Why should I? The project's over. He held the box up to her face. Chloe needs you. Genevieve stared at her egg, and she felt some twinge in her heart. It was good to see Chloe again, but she still couldn't ignore the fact that the whole egg ordeal bothered her. Cut it out, Theo. It's just an egg, like everyone else says. It's not just an egg, Theo said. Oh yeah? Then tell me why you took it. Theo looked away, his voice barely audible. That's fun. Barely audible means you could almost not hear it. Couldn't hear it. Because I care. What? Genevieve said. Because I care, all right? He said more firmly. Just take it, will you? You'll understand. He shoved the box into her hands. Keep her warm. If you've got a desk lamp with a high wattage bulb, that'll work. Genevieve was confused. Okay, she mumbled. Maybe Theo really was going off the deep end. Theo grabbed the handlebars of his bike and turned to leave. Bye. Bye. Genevieve took the egg inside and carried Chloe to her room. She turned on her desk lamp. Under the glow of the light, Genevieve noticed that her egg had a hairline crack running along its side. Was the egg moving? A note was resting in the straw. She unfolded it. I'm the scientist. You're the vet. Now see what you can do with this. Genevieve peered at the egg again. Chloe? The egg moved. That night, Genevieve watched baby Chloe break her way out of her shell. As she looked at something so tiny and innocent emerge from its protective home, what the other kids thought didn't seem to matter anymore at all. She looked at the baby chick, peeping with new life. Maybe she and Theo weren't that different after all. She cared. That's all that mattered. Oh. Mrs. Karagosian definitely likes Genevieve and Theo. And it's important to find something that you're passionate about. For Theo, it was being a scientist. So he figured out a way to take the two eggs and make them to where a live little baby chick would come out. And Genevieve learned how cool it was to see something be born, hatched, and to take care of a new animal. And Mrs. Karagosian loves that when they're both happy, doing what they like, they don't care what other people think. And that's the best way. Find something that you like, that you're passionate about, and then don't worry about other people. Chapter 4 is called The Monster. The Monster. Mrs. Karagosian has not been reading ahead. I've just been reading with you guys. So we'll see. Miss Karagosian can't wait to figure out what the code is. Love you guys. Miss you.